Mage Storytime, Episode 2. It's-a-me! This is the continuing story of a party of role-players who awakened as mages. Our cast includes Awi, who manipulates time with his phone. Baker, who distills powerful potions into delicious baked treats. Bard, a mind and spirit mage who uses superheroes as his gods. Critical, who improves the luck of others through his own pain. Handy, a correspondence-using thief who steals items at long range. Rocky, who controls rocks. Tello, a postmodern mage who uses a hodgepodge of skills to manipulate forces and matter. And Weeb, who uses his life skills to enhance his martial arts and Chinese medicine. When last we left our heroes, for lack of a better word, they were following the bloody boot prints of a jumping killer through the tree-lined avenues of a Dallas residential area. They tracked their quarry to a park, where they spotted a man wearing overalls and a red cap hopping around. As they approached, reality started to shift. The trees and buildings flattened and grew smiling faces. Even the sun was grinning down cheerfully. Light and jaunty music began playing from some unseen source as the world grew cel-shaded. As the red-suited figure leaped into the air, launching himself at the gleeful Alwi who rushed to hug his hero, the rest of the party noticed the appearance of another man in overalls, with a greener sartorial choice, and an elegantly dressed woman. We hadn't seen them when we approached, and it seemed unlikely they could have hidden behind the construction equipment, but we had bigger problems. As the red jumper descended, Alwi suddenly realized his peril, and, acting on instinct, crossed his arms in front of his face as a shield. The jumper landed on the cross, descended a fraction, and then was hurled back with a grunt from Alwi. The rest of us stood stunned, amazed that our friend had apparently turned into an anime protagonist. "Holy crap!" yelled Bard. "Apparently magic does more than we thought." Weeb saw this, and his life was changed. Tello, realizing the paradox probably wouldn't affect us as badly since we were apparently in a video game, stared at the mustachioed man until she pierced the gauntlet behind him, and her hellish allies emerged. They manifested as large, floating spheres with ghost faces and attacked our foe from the rear. As soon as he looked at one, it hit its face and stopped attacking, but there were too many for him to keep in sight all at once, and one bit a huge chunk out of his rear. Bard, hoping to contribute, created a mental image of a brawling, clawed superhero, in 8-bit form, and threw it at the princess with a cry of, "Fastball special!" The elegant princess turned at the cry, but showed no other reaction to the mental attack. Bard was upset and said, guys, something's not right here. I mean, aside from the obvious." Alwi, refusing to attack his childhood idol, cried, "I thought you were supposed to be a hero." "I am a hero. I've been fighting off you horrible mushrooms and turtles all day, protecting the kingdom." "Do I look like a turtle to you?" "Yes." "Well, crap. I didn't expect that answer." "Well, when was the last time a Koopa caught your kick and deflected it?" "I bounce off them all the time. It's part of my whole shtick." "Do they talk to you?" Sometimes, yes. More screaming, usually, but I've met a few conversationalists." "Oh." At this point, Alwi, losing confidence in his position, checked himself to see if he actually was a turtle. He saw himself as a regular person. No shell. Looking at Weeb, he focused harder and saw both his best friend and a giant walking mushroom. Alvi conceded the overall fighter's point, but kept trying to talk him down from his apparent delusions. Bard, getting frustrated, yelled to Alwi to just punch him already. "Stop trying to make me kill my hero, Bard!" Confused by this turtle's apparent sincerity, the man in red stood there, muttering to himself and looking shaken. Handy, hoping to capitalize on the man's discomposure, did some calculations and increased the power of gravity in a localized area around him, preventing a leaping escape. Alwi was also caught in the field, but he just kept up his pleading banter. Seeing that Handy's efforts were paying off, Baker sprinkled rosemary oil into her hands and started rubbing Handy's shoulders, magically increasing the potency of his effect. It did help, but only a little, as Handy was kind of freaked out by the sudden contact. We weren't really that close as a group of friends. Finally, Rocky slammed his foot on the ground and forced the concrete walkway to shatter and bend upward, morphing it into an ad hoc cage to keep our opponent confined. As the red Jumpman stood there, struggling and muttering, he seemed more concerned by Alwi's words than his concrete prison. For a moment, he started to agree with Alwi, saying, No, you're right. You're not a turtle. You're one of those hammer throwers, aren't you? Hearing his comrade struggle, the one in green shouted, Marco, bro, hold on, and raced into the arena. He pulled a flower from his back pocket and his clothes went white. Then he hurled a green fireball at Rocky, hoping to free his brother, but Rocky dodged out of the way. The princess-looking lady moved over to the red man's side in a manner that wasn't quite a teleport, but definitely didn't involve her moving through the intervening space. She took a swing at Handy with a frying pan that she pulled from thin air. She swung with all her strength, not realizing how heavy a frying pan actually is, and was pulled off her feet by the weight of the weapon, missing her target entirely. Tello took advantage of her fall to strike with her sword, but the princess brought the skillet up in time to parry. Baker, seeing this, determined that the magic frying pan would be hers. While the battle raged, Alwi continued his efforts to talk Marco down. Look, if I get you out of here, do you promise not to attack me? If I let you live, will you tell me where to find the King Dragon? Alwi said, Of course. But several other members of the party, who were listening to the conversation, pulled him aside and noted that we didn't actually know where the dragon was. Alwi said, Weird-colored monster? Reptilian? Likes to put people in cages? He's in the White House, guys. And suddenly everyone agreed that we did indeed know where the dragon was, and that Marco should go there to free us from his tyranny. Please. Marco seemed agreeable to this idea and called out to his brother, Louis, stand down, we're going to talk to him. A tense ceasefire was enacted around the battlefield. Well, part of it. Tello and the princess were still gripped with fury, their frying pan and skillet locked together as they glared daggers over the weapons. Seeing her opportunity, Baker snuck up behind the princess, pulling a heavy wooden spoon from her bag, and conked the princess on the noggin. Or she would have, except the princess turned her head at the last moment and got a broken nose instead. Marco cried out, Peaches, no! What the hell is wrong with you people? Rocky did his best to de-escalate, despite the party members' efforts, and calm Marco down somewhat. For his part, the Jumpman was convinced that we were dangerous lunatics. He may have been crazy, but apparently that didn't mean he was stupid. Trying to gain a better picture of the situation, and of Marco's condition, Weeb reached out with his life magic, and after much counting on fingers and confusion, noticed that there weren't as many living bodies as there should be. In fact, neither Louis nor Peaches were actually there, as far as he could tell. He said so, and the two were shocked. Hey, screw you! You're not real! Through a determined force of will, Weeb walked straight through the princess. Marco was utterly shocked. Weeb said, Okay, who are you really, and why did you create these illusions? What are you talking about? Illusions? What? Louis, help me! Peaches, come on! His distress was clearly not feigned. Critical was also unconvinced as to the unreality of these people, as Louis definitely felt real when Critical tackled him to the ground, knocking the fire flower out of his hand. Tello, tiring of these fictional assailants, decided to end the problem at the source and summon another crew of ghostly blobs to tear into Marco. What's wrong with you people? He shouted. You've killed like 4 people. What are you complaining about? Tello replied. Kill? I didn't kill anyone. I just stomped on some evil turtles and mushrooms. Yeah, that's the murder we're talking about. You people are crazy. No, you're crazy. At this point, Bard remembered something he had heard from a friend he didn't know was a mage at the time. Guys, I think this guy's something called a marauder. They're mages who have gone insane or snapped for whatever reason, and sometimes they can use that madness to unintentionally warp reality around them. I'm going to see if maybe I can read his mind with my magic and see what's going on. Baker noted that reading an insane person's mind might be kind of risky. I'll be fine, I think. I'm betting my insanity's going to be able to beat his, replied Bard. Bard placed his forehead on the struggling Marcos for a few minutes, and then went, Oh. Yeah, so this guy was a plumber named Marco, his best friend and brother Louis, and his fiancée, a dancer nicknamed Peaches, both died in a car wreck about a week ago, and he just couldn't take it. His mind created proxies for him and created a reality where they were still around. We might actually have to destroy him, since they're functions of his psychosis and won't let him go easily. A long discussion was then had about what to do with Marco. The cops couldn't handle him, what with the magic and all, and we didn't know of any place to put him. Someone suggested just killing him, but several people objected. Because, despite our history as an RPG party, we were not, in fact, murder hobos, and this was real life, not a game. And, real or not, Aoi was not willing to destroy an embodiment of his childhood hero. Plus, we felt bad for the guy. But not so bad that Aoi wouldn't choke him into unconsciousness, thinking that would end the magical delusion. It worked pretty well, and the magical kingdom faded with Marco's consciousness. Shh. Go to sleep and dream of coins, my friend. Everything returned to normal, and we turned to decide how to deal with our unconscious prisoner. As we did, a couple of us noticed a tall blonde man in a black suit, black tie, mirrored sunglasses, and a coiled wire leading from his collar to an earbud, speaking into his sleeve. He looked like a secret agent, except that no secret agent would look that obvious. He saw that we had seen him, and he calmly lowered his hand and turned on his heel to walk away. After a few moments of silence, Handy shouted, "Flee!" and made to run from the terrifying agent who had been watching us. We immediately pegged him as a member of the technocracy, which we'd only learned about from reading the Mage rulebook. The motion to fly was seconded by Tello, Weave, and Bard. Baker's idea was to take Marco with her to be rehabilitated at her bakery, which produced magical downer brownies, amongst other delectables. There, he could work as an unpaid intern, read prisoner, and Baker could keep an eye on him. It wasn't an ideal solution, but it was technically a solution. We figured that maybe one of the established traditions we had heard about, from the Mage book only so far, might be able to help him out, and several of us decided to start looking for these traditions. In addition to looking for other mages and meditating on our magic and fighting abilities, Baker also learned how to make super jump potions, and we all settled into our newfound roles as mages. Will our heroes survive long enough to learn to be wizards? What sinister plans does the technocracy have? Will Marco ever appear again? Find out in the next Mage Storytime.